name's Jamie, and this will be my first video on YouTube, so keep watching. Today's video, we're going to talk about credit, how to build your credit, and how to restore your credit. So I started to build my credit when I turned 18 years old. I would highly recommend that if you want to start young, you get your credit card as soon as you turn 18. You can start getting some experience using a credit card younger, I believe it's 17, but you won't be the primary user on the account. Like, you would have to be a designated user. So like the main account name would be under somebody else, like a parent, and then you would be an authorized user to use it. That way you can kind of see an understanding before you actually get your credit card. But I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit of how I did it. I became a homeowner at age 20, and I've had really good credit. I've always had excellent credit since I turned 18 up until now, 6 years later. So I just jotted down some things to make sure I touch point with that. So I wanted to start off with saying, when you turn 18, for example, me, when I turned 18, the next day I went to the bank and I took out a credit card. Now, you have to be smart. You can't just take out a credit card and then use it all up and act like it's free money, because it's not. And I feel like that's the main mistake that a lot of people do, is because they are giving a certain limit, they think that they have that money to spend, like extra cash coming in, and it's not that way. So for example, the way I used my first credit card is I was working part-time. I was in high school. I didn't have a lot of money coming in. Therefore, my limit for my first credit card was $1,500. What they do is they base your monthly income. So they will ask for like paychecks, pay stubs, and they calculate your monthly income. Based on your monthly income, they're gonna, make calculations if you owe anything, and basically come up with how much money you could pay. So my limit was $1,500 at the time, and the way I started using my credit card is I grabbed envelopes, right? I got about 5 different envelopes, and in each envelope I labeled it as an expense. For example, gas, food, insurance, phone bill, whatever. You'd label it. So basically what I would do is I would cash out my check. So say I got paid $200, right? I would go to the bank, cash it all out, and separate it into 20s, 10s. And then if I was planning on spending $40 on gas that week, I would put $40 in my gas envelope, and so on and so on and so on. And as the week went, I would use my credit card. But as soon as I would use my credit card, say I went to the gas station and bought $27 of gas, right? I'm going to subtract, which means I'm going to take out the money in that envelope. If I pumped $27 on gas with my credit card, I'm going to remove those $27 from my envelope and put it away. Because at the end of the week, I'm going to go and pay every penny that I spent on that credit card. You do not want to let your balance add up. You do not want to pay the minimum payment. For example, my minimum payment for my first credit card was $15. You do not want to pay the minimum credit. The whole point of you trying to build credit is to let the bank know, or just anyone know in general, that you can spend, but you will pay for that money. You will not go in debt. And they want to see that you're responsible and that you know how to handle money enough to where you know how to pay that back. So you do not spend more than what you don't have, which is why it's so important, I feel like, to have that mentality. And don't think that just because your credit is $1,050, $1,500, that's how much money you can spend. Really, you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your limit. So if my limit was $1,500, I shouldn't be spending a month more than 30%. The moment you start spending more than 30% of that amount, your credit will start to drop. If you spend less than 30%, your credit will drop. The way to keep your credit to go up and up and up is to use about 30% of your limit every month, but to pay it all in full, which is why you have to be smart with the money. You can't just go out and if you see a purse that's $800, just go buy it because you have a credit card. If you make $800 and you can pay that, fine. But even then, I wouldn't use more than 30% on your card, because that's showing like, just don't. It will hurt your credit. Another thing too, that I would recommend is if you don't have that many bills, or even if you do have a lot of bills and you don't want to get carried away using the credit card, a good thing to start using for your credit card would be gas. You know, in general, you would pump $30, $40, whatever, depending on what car you have, every week or so of gas. So that's a good amount of money to start to build your credit, and not enough to break you, but yet again, not enough for like a piece of gum, you know, that's not going to change anything. So yeah, I applied for the bank credit card for my first credit card, and I also applied for the Victoria's Secret credit card. It was pretty easy to get. As long as I had another credit card, I was able to get that line. Again, I don't go to Victoria's Secret that often, so I wanted to just, you know, every so often that I would buy something, use it to start building up some credit. And again, if I bought something from Victoria's Secret today and spent, say, $80, I would go the next week and pay back those $80. Not the minimum, not, oh, I'm going to pay $40 today and then $40 next month. No, the full amount. You have to pay the full amount. That's key. You do not want to pay minimum payments on your card. So that's just going to hurt your credit. Another thing to do, and that way you don't get charged, like if you have a debit card or something, is to open up a school account or a college account. Most banks do not have fees, or you do not have to keep a certain amount of money in that account if you have a college account. So I highly recommend that if you're in school, you use that and use a college, open up a college account instead of a regular checkings or savings account. Also, once you start applying for your first credit card, it's going to take about 6 months to a year to start, you know, getting scores on your credit card. Do not run your credit. Do not run your credit. It's also bad when you go to, you know, say Sears or all these other realtor stores try to offer you credit cards because you'll get a discount, you know, when you purchase whatever you're purchasing. Do not fall for it. Do not apply to too many credit cards in 1 year. That also shows irresponsibility of your part. So if the bank sees that you're applying to all these different credit cards, in their head they're thinking you don't have enough money to be purchasing all these things. Therefore, you're having to apply to all these credit cards. So do not apply to so many credit cards in 1 year. You want to keep one, maybe limit yourself to maybe one credit card a year or none. And do not run your credit unless you absolutely have to run your credit. If you are curious of knowing your FICO score or whatever, there's many ways that you can go through your bank and other ways that they will show you to get it free. That way you're not paying for it to run your score and you're not hurting your credit. I personally have Wells Fargo. I don't know how every bank is, but on their mobile app, you can go in and it gives you a FICO score for every month without running your credit. So yeah, do not run your... Last thing that I wanted to mention was that if you feel at some point that you can no longer keep up with your payments, or you're just losing that discipline that you had when you first started that credit card, and now you're, can't keep up, you're, spending the max every month or so, which happened to me. Once I already had like my goal house and I had my first car and everything, I was like, I really don't need such a good score. My score was still above 750, so I was like, how bad is it gonna hurt me if I just keep spending on my credit card? And then temptation would win. I would see all these things that I wanted to buy, but then I was like, I'll just pay it with my paycheck next week. And so I would just keep spending and spending and spending. And then, yeah, don't get me wrong, I would pay for the credit card, but the fact that I was spending my max literally like every 2 weeks, and my max at this point was like $3,500. So think about that. I was like, no. So I came to a point where I was like, I need to cancel this card. And I remember I was at work and I was telling one of my coworkers, like, I need to cancel this card now. I'm never going to be able to save again if I keep using my credit card. And they told me, do not close the credit card. And I searched it up, looked it up, and sure enough, closing your credit card will hurt you even more. Will drop your credit score even lower. You do not want to close your account. You want to just either cut up the credit card and just throw it away and don't use it anymore, but do not close that account, because that will drop down your score even more. So yes, and that's it for today's video. I'm sorry today's video was not perfect. I'm new to this, but I will be making another video of how to restore your credit. This one's focus was like kind of just how to build your credit. So hopefully the next video will be on how to restore it, and just keep watching me, you guys. And sorry, like I said, my first video, but yeah, so subscribe, keep watching, follow me.